you're not a bad person. You just haven't learned how to convert that emotion into a communication style that will get your point across, but also help the other person see where you're coming from. Your heart can be in the right place. You can have good intentions, but when you speak or when you try to express what you're feeling or express your intentions, there's so many times where we can screw ourselves over, for lack of better words, and kind of ruin the point that we're trying to make. Especially when you're going through things where you feel very pressured, you can have more of an attitude, you can be really hurtful. The power of the tongue is a real thing. There's power in words that we say, and I know we've spoken about um, speaking things and how much of an effect that can have in your life on other people as well. Part of communication is also you being able to speak and get your point across so that the other person understands. It's not always about what you understand that you're saying. So even though you may be trying to get across a point that you're feeling, sometimes within communication, you have to learn to communicate what you're feeling without the feelings being involved. In other words, the words we use can be convoluted and they can be intertwined with our feelings to the point where your words, even though you had good intentions, your words will come off and just completely sever the tie. If something is important to you, it can be really easy for your emotions, your heart, to dictate how the words come about. And then before you know it, nothing is solved, things are worse. Eventually you're going to feel like just shutting down within yourself, because if you can't communicate anything to a person and have them understand, it is going to affect you eventually. It's going to make you feel very withdrawn and like severely misunderstood. At first you may not care. At first it may be a pride thing where you're just like, well, I don't really care like what people think, or I don't care if they don't understand where I'm coming from. I said what I needed to say, that attitude, like pride comes before the fall. And eventually you're going to get to a point where you realize, okay, I have to figure out a better way. Because at the end of the day, we all need each other. And if you can't communicate, which is why we have to speak so that we can get points across, it will just cause frustration, more buildup, more backup within yourself, because you have to be able to communicate. And they say in relationships, they'll say like communication is key. And I think that's just in life. The better you are at communicating, you get a lot further in life. And the more you invest, oh, there's a butterfly. The more you invest in learning how to communicate, the more that you are investing in yourself and the more stock you're building within yourself. That's just the truth. If you have been feeling very frustrated and you feel like nobody's understanding you, it's causing you to shut down emotionally, check in with yourself. The first step to that is understanding how powerful the tongue is, though. And that's why I wanted to make this video. The reason I picked this scripture was because it's true. You know what I mean? Like, if you have bad intentions, of course, it's not gonna, it's never a good thing. When you have bad intentions, it never ends well, at least in the long run. And if you are on a path of seeking good things in your life, your heart needs to be good too. But there's also there's also this thing where you have to understand your heart can lead you astray. And I know that we don't really like to believe that, but it's the truth, because your heart is feelings, and feelings can be very finicky, and they can change like the weather in Houston, okay? Just flip-flopping all over the place, okay? That's why I said it's so important to understand like your heart. Even like you want it to be in a good place, right? You want your heart to be good. You want your heart to be upright. You want your heart to have good intentions, because it makes it better. But you can't rely on, when you communicate, you can't rely on just your heart to be the voice for you, because it's gonna come out crazy. And even though you care about something, your heart can be angry at other things, and it can come out into that conversation where really it has nothing to do with that person. And then your tongue is just slicing and dicing all throughout the the communication style and the conversation itself. And it's just not a good thing. If you want results, it's just not a good thing. Like, you have to be aware, and learn to communicate, relearn how to speak, relearn how to convey your messages. And it takes work, but it is very important if you want to feel less of a void within yourself. If you are someone who's always changing what they're saying or what they mean, or even if you're a person who's just speaking very unacceptably, or you're saying something that's just not nice, or you cussing everybody out, like, and trust me, I'm not judging. Like, If I had $1 for every time I had someone tell me that my attitude is terrible within my family, like, or within people who are close to me, child, I would most likely be rich. Okay. So I understand that with that energy of wanting to convey what you need to say, but feeling like nobody listens or nobody cares, or just being angry. When you're angry, it will show in your words. Trust me. Just trust me on that. And you're not a bad person. You just haven't learned how to convert that emotion into a communication style that will get your point across, but also help the other person see where you're coming from. Because the problem is, at a certain point when your heart fills up with so much, it's just going to come out how it comes out. And at the end of the day, you're not going to care how the other person hears it, because you're not worried about communication. Communication is not just for you to speak, it's for the other person to understand. It goes both ways. But that's what I mean by relearning how to communicate. Communication is not just about speaking. It's about receiving. It's about body language. It's about not speaking too quickly before it's time. It's about, there's so many factors of good communication skills, emotional intelligence. There's a lot of things, and you're not always going to get it right as well, but life will get easier if you can learn to communicate, if you understand what communication styles are and things like that. Second verse that I have is Proverbs 18:21. It's a very common saying, like, basically you can build or destroy with your tongue. Like, the tongue is very powerful. It has the ability to break down or to build up. Even though we're giving out words to other people, I think a lot of times we forget it came from your mind, out of your mouth to that person. So it hits you first before it even hit them. And whatever you're giving out, you're going to consume that. Like, when you speak, you're also like ingesting, and you're digesting that before it even comes out. So it's, by the time they hear it, you may think that you're hurting them, but you're really hurting yourself. And this is such a powerful thing to understand. If you are feeling kind of like frustrated, and feel like everything is just built up within you and you have nowhere to let it out, because nobody understands you, or you constantly feel misunderstood, or you constantly feel like nobody's listening, it's a communication style situation that you have to learn to work on within yourself. Yeah, so I hope that this video blesses you, and I hope that you take heed to it, and you find some sort of like clarity. And I hope that it speaks to your heart and it kind of wakes you up, or plants a seed rather, for you to wake up to certain truths in your life. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you in the next video, okay?